Hi, you guys, and welcome back to the podcast.
We are the KarWells.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Sarah, and we are, as you know, Airbnb interior designers and investors. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this show. I know that Emily and I have been so excited to interview you and pick your brain because direct booking websites have been all the craze lately, especially with how many curveballs Airbnb has sent hosts. So I know this is going to be a popular episode. I know that you're going to have a ton of insight to give us and all of the people listening to this podcast. So thank you for joining us.
My absolute pleasure. I was saying beforehand, I first discovered you through Live, Let, Thrive podcast with Micah and Stephen. And then you popped up on a blog post, which was like the best people to follow in the STR industry on TikTok. And I just sort of delved down the rabbit hole. And ever since, I've been a fan. So I've watched the videos on YouTube, seen the Instagram. So thank you for having me. I'm fanboying out right now. So thanks for having me.
Oh, that's flattering.
Oh, that's so nice of you to say. Thank you.
Both of us are like, us? What?
Well, me being the editor of the two of us, I've been stalking you, and your quality of video is impeccable. The setup that you have for your videos is so good, and so I've been geeking out over that so much for the past few days.
Oh, thank you.
No, yeah, Emily and I are always on the struggle bus because we constantly are moving around. So we're like, how do we make this mobile?
It's hard because like for the last 5 years, I've been moving around. Like me and my family, we've been moving around Spain and Bali and everywhere. And so I always said that when we bought a house back in England and we got settled, I wanted to have my little studio. So I got like the wooden plats behind me. I've got a nice camera, a microphone. And so, yeah, when I was able to, I geeked out because I just at the start of the year got YouTube partner status. So where basically YouTube was paying money to us. And as soon as I got that first paycheck, I was like, brilliant, right, I can go get some lights and got all the cool stuff. So yeah, no, it is cool to see. I'm very happy in my little studio hole here in the house.
Yeah, it's a big investment to get all of that stuff right up front, but it's so worth it. The quality is just really good if you pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're YouTube snobs, like I'm sure all of us are.
Yeah, we are definitely. Yeah.
Well, amazing. Well, as you know, and as our guests know, we always start each episode with an Airbnb horror story. Mark, in particular, has decades, literally, of hospitality in the UK. So we'll let him start off with an Airbnb horror story for you guys.
So, to give a bit of context, our family business has been around for many, 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 many years, over 30 plus years. I was pretty much born into this family business. It was a family 14-bedroom guest house near Scarborough, which is in the middle of nowhere. And we had 3 holiday cottages on the back. And so we had thousands of guests coming through every year. But the story that stands out most to me is the time when we pretty much saved a guest's life, which is pretty crazy to say. But what happened is that it was an elderly couple, and they were coming to stay with us for about 4 days. And just like every guest, they arrive, they check in and whatnot, but they were really late checking in. And we were like, oh, where are they? They must have cancelled. And it's like a no-show, because no-shows were quite common back in 2015, 16. And we get a call from the hospital, the local hospital, saying, your guests have crashed their car on the way to come in to stay with you. It's a write-off. They're currently in hospital now. They've pretty old. They've suffered memory loss. They don't know, really who they are, where they are. But we found your booking confirmation on a printout on the front of the car that was saved with them. And so, can you come pick them up? And we're like, this is the middle of the summer. This is our busiest time of the year. We've got a restaurant as well as accommodation. It's short-staffed as it was. And, I feel like this is what hospitality boils down to. At the end of the day, we're on hospitality. You do what you have to do. And so we went and picked up the guest and brought them in, cup of tea, got them into bed. And they were, like say, elderly couple. They had no computer on them. They had a little flip phone that had, black and white Nokia 3310 for anybody the old school who loves the old phones. And they didn't really have any names or numbers stored in it. They had numbers, but no names. So it's like, well, who can we contact? Have you got any family? And they said, yeah, we've got 2 daughters. What are their names? And they just, because they had suffered memory loss, they didn't know what their daughters were called.
Oh, no.
So we had to, and we basically went through every single number on their phone. We tried to sort of have a conversation with them, find out where the family was. Long story short, we were able to contact one of the daughters. We found out who it was by calling all the names, and called the daughter, and she couldn't be bothered. She was like, "You've got to come and see your parents. I've had a car crash." She's like, "Well, I can't. My husband's at work." Da 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 da. And she was just like, "Not going to come." We're like, "What?" We are still so busy at this point. We've got people coming in, checking in, all that jazz. And anyway, we hung up on her. We're like, "Well, we want to find the other daughter." And this was when it went down like a rabbit hole, because he said, "Well, my daughter lives down south and she works at a garden center, and it's somewhere on the coast." And Emily, you've been to England, that's a pretty big area. You say she lives down south on the coast in a garden center. So this is where I got my detective hat on, and I started searching garden centers on the coast of the UK. And he said there was a big cliff. So I was going on Google, I was finding cliffs and garden centers, pulling up Google Maps and calling garden centers, and we're saying, and I think he gave us the name of like Sarah. Let's just say Sarah, and I give her imaginary name. You got to call her Sarah. So we're calling. Is there a Sarah that works there? And the first one, no, there's no Sarah. Second one, third one, yes. And out of a divine miracle, it was his daughter. She was a lot more receptive than her sister. And I said, "Oh, can you go up?" She goes, "I don't drive. I can get on a train, but I'll be here. I can't get to you for a while." And she said, "Have you contacted my sister?" We said, "Yes," but she wasn't willing to come. And so she said, "Leave it with me, leave it with me." So we hang up.
Boy.
So we hang up, and we go and see to the parents, the elderly couple. They're having a bit of a sleep. We made sure they're all right. Da da da. A couple of minutes later, the phone rings, and it was the sister, who was not very bothered the first time around. She said, "We're coming tonight." And so they came. And we were able to, luckily we had a last minute cancellation, so we were able to put them up in the spare room. It's the only spare room we had in the whole house. And over the next couple of days, they're able to look after the parents, get the car back, because it was a total write-off. And I will never ever ever forget that couple. When they left, they were so nice and so saying thankful and whatnot. And we never ever saw them again. But it's that one story that always sticks into my mind, because what brings me back to why we do hospitality. We had that moment on the phone when the hospital calls us, and we could have just said, "Listen, we're really busy. Sorry, we can't home them." And they would have literally just, sent them off where we're going to send them off to. But we went, we got them, we looked after them, we made sure they were right, and we got the family there. But yes, so many stories, but that is the one that always sticks after me after 14, 15 years doing it.
Oh
my gosh.
For one, excuse me, on the first daughter.
I know, right?
The second daughter is definitely the older sister. And she called her little sister, and she's like, "Go pick up mom and dad now."
Go get him. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's so horrible. And also down south on the coast, it's a literal island.
Yeah,
it's all coast.
It is. The roads get smaller. It's just it's another world in itself down there. But yeah, we found them, and there's so many of them. We did weddings. So one of our big things is that we're on a big 200-acre farm property. We did weddings, and there was so many stories, so many drunken stories that you can tell about.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the one that definitely sticks out to me.
Oh my gosh, that sounds stressful. But I mean, at least it had a happy ending, right?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely did.
Yeah.
Not all the stories we've been told on this episode or on this channel have been happy endings. So.
I know. I do love that intro. I do love the stories. I always sort of get the popcorn out when I'm listening to it or watching. I'm like, this is going to be a good one. So yeah.
Nice. I know. There's just no shortage of curveballs in this industry. So
yeah.
Well, once you go through it, you can once you go through that, you can really handle anything. I feel like that's a rough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So I've got a question for you here. Hearing about how you came from the hospitality side and really the hosting side, what kind of bridged that gap for you where you started doing direct bookings? How did that transition happen?
Yeah, so direct bookings, I feel like in the UK, in Europe, direct bookings are more of a thing, where and a direct booking, just in a very simple term, is where a guest will reserve with you directly and they'll book through you, and it's not coming from Airbnb, VRBO, or booking.com or any third party. And I feel like in the UK, it's always been a thing. I mean, our parents have had the family business since before the internet. Really, it's been a long, long time. So there was no social media, there was no Airbnb, there was no nothing. Like the way that they attracted guests when they first started was word of mouth, and newspaper, magazine ads. That's literally it. And so every guest that came to stay when it was a 4-bedroom guest house when it first opened was a direct booking. And then just as it as all evolved, 2015, 2016, when Airbnb really started to take off, and then instant book became a thing. You know, when Airbnb first started, it was inquiry only. People forget this, but when Airbnb first came around, you would find a listing, you would send a message off, host would see the message, see who was booking, go, yeah, okay, or no. And that was literally how it all started. And then booking.com and Expedia created the instant book phenomenon. And then all of this sort of took off from there. And with that, there was a lot more of attention to them. It was easier. You know, everybody says that like money loves speed and hates friction. This is why Amazon got so popular. So people could just find a listing, click book, done. And the sort of there's a blessing and a curse when it comes to all of this. The blessing is that any one of us now could get a property, we could open it, take a couple of pictures on our iPhone, list it on Airbnb, and by Monday or Tuesday or 3 or 4 days later, you'd be pretty much guaranteed revenue. And that's amazing. I don't know any other industry out there that you can do that. For me, we do websites at Boostly. I haven't got a website that I can list my business on and be pretty much guaranteed to get revenue. You know, with interior design, there's not an interior design site that you can go and list your services and just be guaranteed to get revenue, unfortunately.
Right.
So that is a blessing. But the curse is that because it is so easy, hosts just became lazy on the market and became over reliant on Airbnb, let's just say. And because of that, I saw that there was a massive shift, and there is still a shift. I mean, the prediction is by 2030, 80% of all bookings will be from a third party, from an OTA, which is bad. And we'll talk about why that later. But in 2016, I started to go to local tourism meetings in and around the Scarborough area. About 100 people would attend. There would be guest house owners, hotel owners, short-term accommodation owners, and you just meet up and have a little chin rag and natter, and you'd vote on things and all that sort of stuff. And at those meetings, it always came to people talking about marketing, bookings, guests, and whatnot. And everyone was complaining about booking.com. And I just said, well, what are you doing to get your own bookings? And they all looked at me blankly. They're all, well, booking.com, Airbnb. And our family business, we built 80% of it direct, 20% third party. And the way that we had done it was through email marketing, word of mouth, you know, all the things. So I asked them, you know, what is the local council doing to help you? And they said, nothing. I said, well, what are you doing? Nothing. We're just waiting for the ping to come in from booking.com. We are so reliant on them to bring in our bookings, Airbnb. And so I simply said, listen, I can show 5 of you how to do direct bookings. Just come to the family business. We'll close restaurant one evening. I'll get a whiteboard. I'll just show you what I'm doing. Would you like to come? Just 5 people put their hand up, and 5 people put their hand up, and they were the first ever people I showed. And then on the back of that, in 2017, I created a Facebook group called the Hospitality Community, and it's still going now. And every day I would show up and give little help tips and advice. So, you know, all the things that you could talk about with direct bookings. And that's just the sort of the springboard, like from doing that. And now we've got the podcast, we've got books out, we do websites, we do e-learning. There's 36 members of staff now at Boostly, growing to 40 very soon. We've got 2,200 clients all over the world, websites, training, and all that cool stuff. So yeah, it started 2016. Now what, 6-7 years later, it's going strong, because I feel like the need for direct bookings is coming back, like you said, with all the change in dynamics that are happening even in the last couple of months, you know. So it's really important.
That's amazing. And yeah, I think that you are absolutely taking advantage of something that's been a pain point for people going forward. I mean, you know, Airbnb has had no shortage of dramatic changes, and all of those changes impact hosts, right? Whether it be in a positive way or in a negative way. But again, you don't have any control over it. So,
Yeah.
in and of itself, it's just stressful. Every time they come out with an update, you're like, oh no, is this going to be beneficial, or is this going to like completely sink everything that I've built if you haven't built anything around it where you've got traffic coming in organically?
Yeah. And that's my goal, is that when Airbnb make a change, you just go, oh, that's nice. That's cute. But it won't affect you in any way, shape, or form, because you've got plenty of different revenue channels and streams coming in to build it. So whether it is like a little bit on Airbnb, a little bit on VRBO, booking.com, direct, wherever it may be, you just can't be over reliant. And I got up at stage in Nashville at the STR Wealth event. There's 1,000 people in the room, and I got everybody to stand up. And I said, stay standing if 90% or more of your bookings come in from Airbnb. And quite a lot of people at the 1,000 stood up. And I just said, listen, congratulations, you haven't got a business, you've got a job, and Brian Chesky is your boss. And that sort of that sort of hit a nerve with a lot of people. But it's true, because when you are so reliant, it's like the boss on a Friday just before you finish for the day, literally dumping loads of work on your desk saying that's got to be done by tomorrow. You say, oh shit. So it's the
Right.
same. They can literally just change the rules. And the problem at the moment, and I've seen it a lot on Instagram stories, you see messages for hosts are putting up saying, oh my God, my listing's being suspended because of X, Y, and Z. Airbnb and the bots or the customer service staff that don't know what they're talking about are closing down my account because of an issue with a guest, da 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 da. And it literally just takes one thing. It takes a couple of crappy reviews. It takes one crappy guest. It takes one algorithm shift, like the categories, for example, for you listing that could be very high to all of a sudden be invisible. And if you're
Yeah.
invisible, then you're not going to get bookings. You're not going to get bookings on a channel that you're 90% plus reliant on. You're not going to be able to pay your bills, pay your staff, pay whoever. So it's really important that we start doing this.
Yeah, 1000%.
Yeah, I've noticed like one of the biggest pain points that we talk about with people all the time, that like we end up getting like a lot of comments from people who stay at Airbnbs that don't host them, that are like, "Oh, a 4-star review is good." But then on Airbnb, it's not. Like you need 5 stars on Airbnb because the algorithm only pushes it. But if you're not relying on the Airbnb stars to get your listing out there, then you don't have to worry about, oh, this person had no idea that a great stay is 5 stars, even if it's not 5 stars to them. Like you don't have to worry about that algorithm.
Yeah, it's like the Superhost label as well. Like Superhost, it really makes me giggle every single like 3 months when I see people posting up on Instagram saying, "Oh, we're a superhost, we're a superhost, we're a superhost," blah 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 blah. Because all we're doing on that day, and Airbnb are very clever. All we're doing on that day on all of our accounts, we are promoting Airbnb, we are branding Airbnb. One of my favorite things that I saw was in our community saying, "I lost my Airbnb superhost status this year, but I don't care because 85% of my bookings are direct." Airbnb have asked me why we're not getting bookings through the platform anymore. And my honest reply was, I'm doing it myself. So it was just made my day to see that. And, it's something where, if you do this right and you can flip it to say 65% direct and 35% OTA, you'll never have to worry about superhost statuses, reviews, or anything like that, because then you've got a nice split on your revenue streams that are bringing bookings and revenue into your business.
Yeah, 100%. We designed a wedding venue that also functioned as an Airbnb for a lady out in New York. And it was a family owned business previously, not the wedding venue, but just her and hospitality in general. And she had like 6 or 7 cabins in New York that her family had been running for years. And so she was like, I'm putting this, venue on Airbnb just to fill up the weekdays when people aren't here on the weekends. And she's like, it's amazing that I would like put this thing online and all of a sudden I can get these bookings. She's like, because the cabins that we own, that we've owned for decades, she's like, those are all direct booking. Like over years and years, it's just 100% direct booking. So to now like come into something and have this anticipation that it's going to take me 3 or 4 years to get like consistent traffic, because that's what it took previously to Airbnb. Now, you can get bookings right away. But on the flip side of that, she immediately was like, but we're not sleeping on adding this to our direct booking website. She's like, because I never ever want to have to be reliant on it. And that was like my very first exposure to like the necessity of having direct bookings was her. And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, you've only had this running for so long, how many direct bookings are you getting? And she's like, over 85% in the first year like converted to direct bookings when they came back. And so I was like, wow. Like I can't even imagine having 85% of traffic anywhere other than Airbnb, because we haven't stepped into that direct booking game yet.
Yeah, and it's so easy. For the thing is that most hosts, when I talk about direct bookings, they go, "Oh, it's such a pain. It's such a faff. I have to do all of this, that," and it's like the cool thing is about this is that there are some really simple things, and I can walk you through a couple of them right now. But it's so easy to do, and it's like, oh, that is really obvious. Why didn't I do that? And the prime example was at stage at Nashville at the SDI Wealth event. I got everybody to do this one thing, and within 30 minutes before I finished my talk, someone had a direct booking. And it literally can be as simple as a couple of things that you just need to do. It's just we're not doing it. And so it's all it is a little shift. And I'm not expecting everybody who's listening to this podcast to suddenly turn around in a week and go, wow, I'm now 80% direct. How did that happen? All we need to do is just shift it 1 to 5%. And if we can slowly shift it 1 to 5% every month over a course of the next year, then it'll be a lot more healthier.
Yeah, 100%. Emily, did you want to ask the next question here?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've kind of covered some of our questions just naturally. But so you're really big into like marketing your short term rentals, especially because that leads to a lot of your direct bookings. But I know a lot of people get into the short term rental space or they put their listing on Airbnb specifically because they want to put it up and then just hear the ding and they don't want to have to put the work into marketing it. So, why do you think that taking the time to market your property is so important?
See, the way that everything has happened over the last 2 years, like Airbnb in 2019 is so different to Airbnb in 2022 and going into 2023. Like I said at the very start, we are very fortunate in this industry that you could in 2019 take a couple of pictures, throw it up, and be pretty much guaranteed to get revenue. But the way it's going now, because there's so many people with everything that's happened over the last couple of years that are not staying in hotels or going on cruises, they've ventured into the world of short-term rentals, and they're not like they've not had like a little dip into the toe of short-term rentals and go, oh, I'm going back to the hotels. They are still staying in short-term rentals. The data is showing that. And so because of that, there are so many more people that are starting up their own short-term rental business. And so there's a lot of people coming into it. Even with potential regulations, it is going to become even more saturated. It's not like Airbnb is saying, hey, we don't want any more hosts. We're good. They're saying we want more. So, because of that, we are going to, or you are going to, as hosts, going to have to market your business in some way, shape, or form. Whether that is marketing it on Airbnb, or doing it any other way, shape, or form, you're going to have to start doing it. Because, like we said, as a website designer, I don't have an option of just throwing my site up on another site and be guaranteed to get revenue. I have to market the business in some way, shape, or form. So we are going to have to. And whether you are going to market it direct or whether you're going to have to market for Airbnb, I know which one I prefer, because the commission rate at the present moment in time is, if you have got under a certain amount of properties and if you're not got it connected to a property management software, your commission's 3%. If you have it connected, if you've got a business account set up, then you are paying 15%, 14, 15%, and that's only going to go up. So if I'm going to take my time to market my business, I would much rather be marketing myself, so I don't have to pay any commission, and I can attract the right guests, and I can be making more profit, getting better guests, and be in more control. This is the whole thing. What it boils down to is that as soon as you have a booking come from a third party, you are playing by their rules. You're playing in their sandpit. So if for whatever reason you need to cancel a reservation, you go to the guest who's booked from Airbnb, you say, listen, I'm so sorry, but X, Y, and Z's happened. We've got to cancel this stay. You cancel it for Airbnb, you might as well cancel your whole listing. Because if you cancel a stay on Airbnb, Superhost status goes. If you cancel your booking on Airbnb, the algorithm drops. Airbnb literally go, see you later. All right. But if a guest books with you directly, and if for whatever reason you have to cancel it, it's fine. Nothing happens. There's no algorithms you have to compete with. So it's a whole many things. So a long way around of answering your question is, if you come into this wanting just passive income, as in you just want to hear the ding, I'm afraid it's not going to be a ding business anymore. You're going to have to do something to get those bookings, whatever that may be. And if there's any sort of point that I can put down as a marker of how and why, just look at the categories mess around that happened only a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
It's a prime example of that. So many people, and it was, it was great for Boostly. It was great for business. Our phones were off the hook that day, after those times. It was like, hang on a second, my Airbnb bookings have gone down. There's this weird British guy with a cap on who's talking about direct bookings. Let's go and chat to him. So, that's why they came to us.
Yeah. So I have a couple of questions in regards to direct booking sites that I've seen a lot of people have anxiety around when they think about starting a direct booking site. One of those being the insurance policy that VRBO and Airbnb attach on to every single one of your bookings. Do you have a solution for that when people are looking at transferring all of theirs over to direct booking?
Yeah, 100%. So the cool thing is now is that there are so many companies and vendors that are paying attention to this industry, because it is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and there's so much potential in it. And with that, there are now more options that are being made available. All the air cover with is just good marketing. Like, Airbnb are fantastic at marketing. I look at them, just go, well done, because the way that they market, they make it all sound so simple that you just have to be on their platform. Don't go anywhere else. And that's literally all AirCover is. There's a company called Superhog, for example, superhog.com, and they've got the same cover, but it's better than AirCover. And it's there's loads out there. I know that there's proper insurance in America. There's loads of others, but there are so many options that are available. You just got to hide the Airbnb marketing for a second. Go on to Google, do a search, and just go and have a chat with them, because it's so easy to set up. It integrates with the most important part of every business, which is a property management software, and we can dig into that in a second. And it's all done automatically, so it's not like you've got to do tons of extra work.
Right. That was literally going to be my follow-up question is I'm assuming all of these are, compatible with iCal. That seems to be the
Yeah.
software where you can, hook it up to any sort of PM software that you're using. I would assume that the direct booking sites that you're making also have that capability.
Yeah. So the biggest tool that everybody needs to have to get started on the journey isn't a website. I mean, I say this in my book, the Book Direct Playbook. Like, it's not the website. The most important tool that you need to have is a property management software, and PMS is otherwise known. Now, unfortunately, there are 1,400 different PMS providers in the world. It's crazy. There's so much choice. But the more that you start to dig into it, there's like the top 10 that always seem to be mentioned. Like there's Hostfully, there's Guesty, Hostaway, Hospitable, you name it. The main names keep cropping up. And all you need to do is pick one. And this is going to be the most important place, because with a property management software system, this is going to be the place that you log in every day, because it'll be where all your bookings are stored. It'll be where all your guest data is stored, all the integrations into Airbnb, for example, VRBO, booking.com, your direct booking site, everything will be integrated and it'll be built off of here. So that's the most important thing. And this is where so many people get stuck, because they go, well, I know I need one, but I just don't know who to go with. So we put a blog together. So if you go to Boostly, boostly.co.uk/P for Peter, M for mother, S for sugar, we literally listed out the top 12. We did a survey. We interviewed 100 to 200 hosts, pros and cons of every single one that they use, and we put it on that blog. So go on, book a demo, and get one in place. Now, the cool thing about that is that once you've got a PMS, it links into Airbnb, links into VRBO, links into every channel, so you'll never get a double booking, which is the sort of the biggest fear of all hosts. Double booking, you have to deal with that. So it eliminates that. Second cool thing is you can set up a Stripe account that takes 5 minutes. And with Stripe, it means that anybody can message you and go, hey, I'd love to book the place. Can I book with you directly? Finally, you can say, yeah, because you've got Stripe, you can send a Stripe invoice and you can do it all direct. It links into insurance company, it links into guest verification, but also as well, if we talk about revenue, we've only got a certain amount of heads that we can fit on beds. We are limited in our inventory. So the cool thing now, talking about companies that are paying more attention to this industry, there's companies that are out there that help with the upsell or adding more revenue on. So it can all be done automatically. So a late checkout, early check-in, taxi from the airport, private chef, whatever you want to do, bike clocks, there's so many cool providers, DAC and all of that. There's so many cool providers that are providing this service for hosts so that they can make a little bit of extra revenue from this. And it's all interlinks automatically and in sync with your property management software. So it's like a set and forget.
Yeah, we love that. I tell you what, the first time we were exposed to PMS systems, we were like, how have we not had this earlier? It just really does remove about 80% of the guest communication that you have to do with every single guest. It like brings it so much closer to a passive experience than it was before.
Yeah, because I know so many people that are still messaging everybody manually, and it's like, wow, it's like the time. And they go to me, I'm just so busy, I just don't know how I can fit my time. I say, well, show me your screen time on your phone, and it's like, oh yeah, so Airbnb 8 hours a day. Well, I mean, that's where probably the problem is here. Let me introduce you to this. Like, and everybody who's just getting started, if you're in like about 1 to 5, just go set up with Hospitable. 1 to 5, perfect. Guesty for host or Hospitable, 1 to 5. After you get past 5 properties, you're in property 6 plus, then you can go and upgrade to, Hostfully, Hostaway, Guesty for pros. There's so many of them, uplisting. But for the first 1 to 5, because Hospitable, it does all the messaging. It's like it's a PMS that's not a PMS because they never built it to be a channel manager PMS, but it's just sort of turned into it because they've got such a cool community, and you just can't go wrong. It'll take away so much time in sort of the manual time that you have to do with all of this.
Yeah, and it's the consistency for me as well. Like, every day you wake up in a semi-different mood, right? And somebody will have a problem or somebody will have a question and you won't answer it as tactfully maybe as you would have the day before. But when
Yeah.
you've got all those automated messages, I mean, your guest experience is just so much more consistent, which has been such a godsend.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you wake up and it's like before coffee and you get the same message you've had 100 times. Like, what's the Wi-Fi code? It's like, it's the same fucking Wi-Fi code. It was yesterday. It's not changed. But you can't say that in a message. So yeah, you just takes the emotion out. And you know, obviously as you grow, you're going to get to a point where you're going to need to outsource and hire. And this is where like there's two books, Who Not How, was a massive book for me, and also Clockwork by Mike Michalowicz. Those are two books that everybody should read because as you grow, and this is like a pain point in our business, and it was at Boostly for a point as well. It was like we were still trying to do everything. There's only so much that automation can take over, but as soon as you then invest in those books, read them, implement them to your business, then you can properly grow. Then you can properly start to, get that time back in your day and, focus on the things that you like doing, not having to give a Wi-Fi code out a million times.
Yeah. Yeah, spend your time a little more wisely.
Yeah, I will give a little hack though on the Wi-Fi codes, and this is something that everybody should do. Instead of just having the bog standard Wi-Fi code that gets associated with your router, change it to your business brand name. So by doing that, you are always, always, always refocusing and sort of enforcing into the guest's mind, this is your business brand name. And so it will implement and ingrain into their head, this is who I'm staying with.
Yes.
And so basically what you want to happen is that you want to, obviously everybody listening to this or watching this has got an amazing business, you're an amazing host, you give the guest a great experience, but what you want to do is when they go home and they're on social media or they're chatting to a friend or a colleague and they go, hey, where did you stay? That looked really good on Instagram. And you say, oh, I stayed at insert brand name. You don't want them to go, oh, I just stayed in an Airbnb, because you're branding a total of a business. You say, well, I stayed at da 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 da, and they'll go type into Google, da 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 in da 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 da, and then you bring up your diet booking website. This is literally how to sort of get that little rabbit hole going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
little touches of branding
Mm-hmm.
everywhere is
Yeah.
Everywhere.
it's like things that you don't think people are going to remember, but if they see the name that many times, it's going to stick in their brain. If they're also getting a good experience, they're going to be like, "Oh yeah, the Wi-Fi password, there was like cups with the name on it or
Mm-hmm.
coasters with the name on it." Little things like that, branding throughout your listing is really going to
It's,
help.
it's it's the billboard effect. It's why these brands and these companies, it's why like washing detergent, they spend all this money in newspaper ads, billboards, because when you walk into Walmart, and I've been into a Walmart in America, you're just surrounded by choice. There's choice everywhere. And it's like when you've got like 100 different detergents to choose from, it's like brand recognition. You recognize it because you've seen it
Yes.
over and over and over again. So you go, oh, I'll go pick up this one instead of all the others. It's little things like that. One of the things that we did, to give another little tip, is we knew that we needed reviews if we were going to get seen more visibly. And back in the day, TripAdvisor was a thing. It's maybe not anymore, but TripAdvisor was the be all and end all to get seen, in sort of definitely in the UK. And so what we identified there was two key touch points where everybody was going to be touching a lot in the room or in the cottage. One was on the fridge and one was on the front door, so the back of the front door. So we had these two cool little plaques made, and on the back of the door we put a QR code, and we put, please leave a review on our TripAdvisor page. Scan this code or find Granary on TripAdvisor. For everybody that does, we'll put everybody into a prize draw, and at the end of the month, someone will win a bottle of wine or whatever it was that we used to do. And so by doing so, because they're at the property, because they're at the place, and because they're having a great time and all that stuff, they're more likely to do so because we're asking the question there and then. If we'd have waited for them to get home and then send that automated email that goes out saying, hey, could you please leave a review? But back in like real world mode, little Timmy's got to get to soccer practice, there's deadlines at work and stuff. But when they're on holiday, they're sipping tequila, they're chilling out, we're doing all the cool things. So, oh yeah, I'll definitely leave a review. And because of that, so many people left reviews. We jumped to the top 3 on TripAdvisor in our county. So it was a massive marketing thing, and it worked so well. And it was literally something that we did once at the start of the year, and then we left it, set and
Yep.
forget. And that's just little tweaks like that, and something that anybody can do tomorrow, like literally tomorrow. Go print some off, whack it in some laminate, get it on your door, get it on your fridge, and just, you don't have to get them to leave a review on TripAdvisor, but you could do anything like us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram, da 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 da.
Yeah, 100%. Even I think about the place that we stayed in Hocking Hills maybe 2 months ago with my family, and it was called The Ledge. And so I made an Instagram or a TikTok about it. I mean, it went semi-viral and people were like, "How do I find this? How do I find this?" And it was so much easier for me to just type in Google The Ledge than it was for me to like copy and paste that Airbnb link in. And so it was like one of those moments where I was like, they did such a great job at branding this opposite of, something that was Airbnb specific that it makes it so much easier for people to find on the back end as well.
I remember you saying that, actually. I do remember seeing this on the Instagram. And this comes into another reason why this works so well, is that when people post on social media, they become mini influencers. You
Mhm.
think of an influencer, you think of 100,000 followers, a million followers, whatever it may be, but every single one of your guests is an influencer. They are influential because the friends that are following them, people that follow them, will see it and go, oh, that looks cool. And one of the major buying reasons, 93% of all transactions are on the back of social proof. When do people
Wow.
mostly post on social media? It's when they're on vacation and want to show off back home to their family and friends. So
Yes.
you've got to take advantage of this. So any little prompt that you can do, for example, on Instagram, if right now on Instagram, as in 2022, coming into September 2022, right now, Instagram are massively putting all of their resources into local. They are going, right, this is how we're going to dominate, and it's local. Just go and look at guides. Go and look at the map that's on on Instagram right now. And so if you can get somebody to post on their Instagram, on their feed, and in it, they can tag that their location, they're staying at your property, your whatever, the ledge, let's just call it the ledge, right? And tag in that, then what will happen is on your Instagram feed, you've got a tagged section. And this is how we grew our business way back when on social media, is that on the tag section, anybody that's tagged you on social media, that will just flow with so much content. So if you do it right and if you do it well, you're never having to stress about creating content again for your business. You can just literally take that picture and put it up and tag in the person who posts it saying, da 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 da, stayed with us. Thank you so much. Amazing stay. Look at this great picture. They'll get the tag, they'll share it to their friends and say that, for whatever reason, there may be somebody that's staying with you that's got 5, 10, 15, 20,000 followers. They'll go, wow, that person who I follow, but I know, like, love, and trust, and really appreciate what their content and their opinion, they've stayed here, the ledge. Let me go check it out. They'll Google it,
Yeah.
make a booking, and it's just little things just to keep on just tapping into time and time again.
Yeah, and TikTok just announced yesterday that they're adding a local feature on theirs as well. So everybody's going hyper local. So
Yeah.
it's so true. I mean, we get a little bit of traffic from and we haven't done a great job of like recording how much of our traffic from our Airbnbs comes from our social channels. But like for example, this month as we're walking into September, we have someone who found us on TikTok and is staying at our cabin in Michigan, and they have like 10 million followers on TikTok and they've got like 500,000 followers on YouTube and on Instagram. And so it's like one of those moments that you're like, okay, we have to be so prepared for this branding moment because you know that so much content is going to be created around it and it like comes with both like a ton of excitement and a ton of pressure because you're like if you screw this up everyone will know, but if you knock it out of the park also everyone will know.
Yeah, it's amazing the people that stay with you. You don't even realize, but there's an amazing website being created called Stay Ammo, STAYAMO. I got Jordan, one of the co-founders, onto the podcast, Boostly Podcast, and it's a marketplace that is connecting influencers with short-term rental hosts. It's such a good idea because influencer marketing was, again, we dabbled with it in 2014, 2015. We saw the full potential. We invited bloggers and YouTubers way back then, and it really helped because we never paid any money to Facebook ads, any money to Google ads. We did it all for free. And what we did is instead we put that revenue and that budget into working with influencers because they had a big audience, which was perfect around our niche. So we knew exactly who our avatar was. It was families, families within a 3-hour drive of us that wanted to go away for a staycation, escape the city. And we picked influencers to work with us. That was their niche. That's what they spoke about. So it was just literally a home run every single time that we did it. And, this is the cool thing about having a website is that you can add in analytics. So you can easily see where people are coming from. Is it from the TikTok? Is it from an email that you put out? Is it from an Instagram? Or is it from somebody else, another place that's driving the traffic to your site? So you can be then a little bit more sort of switched on with the decisions that you make, or where you're going to put a little bit of budget, which
Oh,
is
I
cool.
love that. So I have another question. There's a lot of like PMS softwares that are offering an option to make a direct booking website from their PMS software. How does yours differ from that? Like, why would people choose to use you as opposed to something that they're already connected to?
It's a great question, and I have to be very careful with my words because I once got told off because I called out an actual company and their crap PR. So I'm just going to say every PMS provider's website is crap, and the
Yeah.
reason why it's a free website, right? And so this is why it's important. Is that the first PMS? I don't know which one it was, and I'm definitely not going to name any names. But the first one, they used it as a sales angle. Say, hey, when you come with us, you also get a free website. But these free websites are just glorified landing pages. You know what I mean? It does nothing. It goes nowhere. It has no benefit. You can't do anything to it. So the 62% of all the websites in the world are built on WordPress. Okay. The problem with WordPress is that if you've never seen a WordPress account and you log into the back end, you're like, I need a degree in coding to understand what I'm looking at here.
So
which
true.
is which is
Yeah.
why Wix and Squarespace got really popular, because they were like, hey, you know that really complicated thing? Watch this, drag, drop, boom, you got a website. But
Yeah.
Wix and Squarespace, again, they're just glorified landing pages. They don't do anything or anyhow. The reason why WordPress is king is because Google loves the open source of it all. And open source is just a fancy word, just saying just Google loves it, right? And so you need to have a WordPress website. What we were able to do is we were able to create a tool, a bit of technology where we can have a WordPress website and we can sync it directly into 10 of the top PMS providers that are out there. So all of your information is synced in real time, all of your prices, all of your availability. You even do a booking on the website and it will all sync into there. And with a WordPress site, you can add in analytics, you can add in live chat tools, you can add in. So one of the cool things that we created was this review tool, and the review tool picks all of the reviews you've got on the internet, Airbnb, VRBO, wherever, and it filters in just the 5-star reviews and it puts it slap bang on your homepage. Because as well as
Amazing.
social proof, the one thing that everybody looks for is a review. 86% of all reservations that are made are on the back of a review. So if you haven't got reviews on the homepage of your website, what are they going to do? They're going to bounce and they're going to go. And when they leave, they never come back. So we're able to create that, do that, work with that, and which is why, we are now the number one recommended website agency in the whole industry. We work with some amazing people, Micah and Steve too, and many, 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 many others, 2,200 plus clients. And so, yeah, and so this is why I preach about it. I did a whole chapter in my book, the Book Direct Playbook, and I give the secret sauce to how we build every single one of our websites. So even if you don't want to come with us, go buy the book. It's like 99 cents and you can literally do your own if you want to do it. But yeah, I can talk about this all day, but it has to be WordPress. It has to be that is the channel that you're going to build your business on.
Yeah, we built our website on Squarespace, and I had originally, I mean, I went to an art college, so everyone was, in one way, shape, or form involved in digital arts. And there was just such a huge conversation around the difference between Wix, Squarespace, and WordPress. And WordPress is way more intimidating. It does take a lot more knowledge to make that function the way that you want it to. Squarespace and Wix are so much easier to use, but time and time again, everyone that I've talked to across years of talking about that is like, WordPress will always be king
Yeah.
on that front.
No, I totally get it. And listen, like if we didn't have like the cool team behind us, and like when I first looked at the WordPress site, I was like, damn, what am I looking at? This is crazy. Do I need a degree in coding to use this? But you don't. And this is why what we do is we do all the hard work for you. We put it all together, and then we hand it over, and we say, listen, these are all the tutorial videos on how to do it, all that cool stuff. So yeah, I totally get it. It can be intimidating. That's why we just say, hey, come to us. We'll fix it for you. Who, not how. Don't. How are you going to do this? Who can you find that can do it for you?
Yep,
Yeah.
100%.
Can't know everything.
No, thank God we don't have to know
Oh
everything.
my gosh, that'd be the worst. We learned that the hard way, but we figured it out eventually that you can't know everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. We just want to do everything ourselves. That's always our problem.
And this is the cool thing about now, is that there are so many options available. Like 2012, 2013, when I first came back into the business full time, when it was me and my wife, and we came in to help my parents, is that there was no dynamic pricing software tools like Price Labs and Wheelhouse and Beyond. You know, they are amazing. I shudder to think how much revenue we left on the table because all we did for our pricing every year, we put it up $1. That is the foolish thing. We had it set all year. And it was just like, yeah, we're going to do that today. We're going to do that price. And it's like, and I think about it now and I'm like, what an idiot. You know, if you just sometimes when you look back on your life and your business decisions that you make, and someone could just say, you're an idiot, don't do this. I wish somebody just said, you're an idiot, don't do that. But there was none of this. There was no help. There was no guidance. There was no YouTube training videos. There was no hospitality community Facebook group. There was none of this. There was no tools and technology. That's why it's so cool now. And the best chance and the best time is to do it.
Yeah.
So just get started.
Yeah, I have another question also. So if you're doing, if you've got 2000 some clients, all who are asking for direct booking websites for their Airbnb or short-term rental industries, how similar is the platform for every single one? Like eventually are we going to see a ton of basically the same website but with different pictures, or how customizable is it?
That's my goal. I want somebody to land on a website and go, that's a Boostly site. Because this is one of the big problems when it comes to website designers, is that they want to try and create the next Mona Lisa for a hospitality brand. And my whole thing is go look at Airbnb. That's a shit looking website, but it works because the whole point of it is to get you from A to C, A, B, C as soon as possible. Find a place, go on it, click it, book it, gone. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So why do so many website designers try and go, oh, look at this flashing graphics, this amazing video, this drone shot that goes blah, blah, blah. Nah, you just have to have somebody open up your website, go, this is who we are, this is what we do, and this is how you make a booking. And that is what we've done. We've studied countless of websites. We've looked at all the studies. We've looked at all the surveys. We look at what the Hilton do, the Marriott do. We look at what all of them, and we've just magpied. A magpie basically never has its own nest. It goes in little nibs, little bits from here and there. And that's literally what we've done. We've magpied loads of these little features and things that they've done, and we put it into this site. And we just duplicate it. It's bespoke because of you, because of your personality, your colors, your logo, your properties, your pictures. That's how it's bespoke. But the
That
main
makes sense.
functionality of it is exactly the same. And it just works time and time and time again. This is why we just literally go, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Don't try and reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. So is there ever somewhere down the pipeline, or maybe this is already part of it, where you're creating just a giant direct booking website of your own, where like to the
Well,
people who are coming in have their own website and also get to advertise it on yours as like an additional Airbnb?
so we're creating something called Boostly Communities. And what basically the premise of it is this, is that we're never going to create one website that's going to take on Airbnb. What we're going to do is we're going to create hundreds of these sites. And what we're going to do is go to content creators, people that have got big platforms, people that have got maybe smaller platforms, and just go, right, here's a website. You can, let's just say Nashville, right? So somebody in Nashville will take the website from us. They will go to all the other STR hosts that are in Nashville, and they'll get them to list their business on this platform. What we're able to do, we're able to create scraping tools and all this cool thing where literally you can go in, put your details in, boom, your listing populates. And from there, it's called a community. So let's just say it's nashvillecommunity.com, whatever it is. People will go on there. So I'll be able to go on there, look for a place to stay, and you'll be able to find a listing that's on there. You'll be able to chat with the host directly. You'll be able to make a booking with them directly. And it's all done direct. So it's called Boostly Communities because you've got that. We'll be able to create blogs on there and all that cool stuff. So instead of just being one main site, there'll be loads and loads of these community sites that build up. Because what we're finding and what we're discovering from chatting to our members is that there's all manner of these things created anyway, but they're mostly on WhatsApp groups. So they'll have like a WhatsApp group of a little network that they're all at a meetup or whatever. And it's like, if they're full and they get an inquiry come in, they'll jump in the WhatsApp group and go, hey, who can take this booking? But by the time it actually gets dealt with, it's gone. So instead of having that, again, money loves speed and hates friction. So it's like, how can we speed up this process? So it goes, hey, visit here. Just go visit nashvillecommunities.com. All of these are on the site. You can go book with them directly on there. So that's what we're basically doing. We're going to loads of people, and the product's going to be ready Q4 of this year, so October time of this year. October,
Oh
November,
my
December.
gosh, we're getting close.
And we're getting very close. So we're testing it at the moment with a community called Hospitable Host. So it's a book project that I was a part of this year. 40 hosts all put their stories down. That story that I told you right at the very start, that's my chapter in the book. And we're testing it. We basically took all those 40 authors. We've got about 300 properties from those 40 authors in this website. It's called Hospitable Hosts. Rentals, and people now are going in and we're testing it. So we're getting all the bugs out and all of that jazz, and then we're going to hopefully then start to unveil it to more and more communities all over the world very soon, which will be cool.
That's
That's awesome.
incredible.
I kind of have
Holy
a
cow.
spin-off question because like you're creating all these websites and all these ways for people to be able to expand their business. So as the short-term rental space kind of evolves and people learn, do you think Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com are going to kind of become obsolete? People are going to be like, I don't need to use those anymore because the space has evolved and they're just kind of like the beginning stages of the short-term rental space, or how do you feel about that?
So there's a couple of things. Number one, it's as dangerous going 100% direct as it is going 100% Airbnb. The reason being is that you don't want to have your eggs all in one basket because for whatever reason, just to say, I don't know, your account gets hacked into and you lose all of that. That's just as dangerous as being 100% on Airbnb. So I always say a nice healthy mix is to be 65% direct, 35% others. So that's number one. The other thing is, I don't think that you got Airbnb or VRBO or Booking.com have to worry about maybe the host as such. What they have to worry about is the Google play in all of this, because Google really, really want a piece of this pie. And I know they do because they've tried to create Google listings. There's Google flights, and now there's Google vacation listings that is there, which is prevalent, but it's going to get bigger. I know so because we've had conversations with Google who want to use Boostly to be able to try and grow this sort of community because they want to be able to get a piece of this pie. If Google start to get involved, then they will have to worry because then that is literally the first search for everybody, you know?
Right.
So there's a couple of things. And this is why Airbnb, so VRBO is the Expedia group. Booking.com is a booking holidays group. If you go on Expedia group, we've got Expedia, we've got VRBO, we've got tons of sites. And booking holidays group, we've got Booking.com, Agoda, which is more over in Asia. And then there's Airbnb, which is solo. And then you've got Google. So if Google do get involved, they do have to be, these have to be careful. And they have to be careful how they treat the host. This is what it all comes down to. The way at the moment, it's very guest heavy, host down here. You know,
Right.
they're throwing around all the time, host first, host first, host first. It's not. All you have to do is go and look at what people's experiences have been over the last sort of couple of weeks, couple of months, and people are
Right.
siding with guests far too easy, and they're sort of treating us like a number because of, you know, obviously they're on the traded and on the stock market and all that stuff, and dealing with shareholders, stakeholders. They have to be careful because otherwise there's so many people that are just going to leave. And if they do it at a mass level, then they could have a problem. But more benefit to the direct booking movement.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, this has been super educational. I feel like I've gone through a crash course that I needed to go through for my own business here. So we'll probably be in
Yes.
touch.
Definitely.
Well, thank you so much. As we wrap up here, why don't you tell people where they can find you?
So I just grabbed it. If you want to get started on all of this, this is the book. It's called the Book Direct Playbook. Literally 99 cents to grab. And it's got 101 tips in there on direct bookings. You don't have to do all of them. You can just do one thing. Just go and grab that. When you crack open the book, it will show you how you can reach out to me on Instagram. But it's a very action-packed book. It's got a lot of action, a lot of implementation. And one of the best things that I've done ever is release that book. So please do go and check that out.
Yeah, and I will make sure I link that below as well, and then I'll link your socials so people can find you and get the tips and tricks that you're putting out on socials as well.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Well, thank you to our listeners. I'm sure, or I hope, that you guys have pulled something out of this as well. Like Emily said, she'll link everything below, including your socials. So if people want to keep up and they're not ready to make the leap into a direct booking, I would definitely start there. You can do a deep dive like Emily and I have done. And yeah, to our listeners, as always, you can find us at the KarWells, literally everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll catch you next time. Bye,
Bye.
guys.